Avengers Endgame is here! It comes out tonight, but we got to see it a little bit early this week, so we are, don't worry, doing a completely spoiler-free, no spoilers review of Avengers Endgame. Plus, there's some other news that we're going to talk about too, but we'll get to that later. All that today on Marvel Movie News!
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Marvel Movie News.
Oh, good afternoon to you, our merry Marvelites! This is Marvel Movie News, and we are coming to you live from Redacted.
Nice.
I know where that is.
Yeah.
Totally know where that is.
As we said, no spoilers will be given on this week's show. I just want to put that out there very loud and very clear up top. But we are absolutely going to talk about Endgame, how we felt about it, how many times did we cry, what time is a good time if you have to use the bathroom physically. 182 minutes is a long time to not pee.
Or
So
you could
we're going to
wear
give
a
you
diaper.
our recommendations, and Christian and I are going to give you our spoiler-free thoughts on the movie. And then we're also going to talk about some... Kevin, there's not a ton of news because everyone's talking about Endgame.
Yes.
But Kevin Feige was talking a little bit about Shang-Chi this week. We're going to talk about that. There's some more news about WandaVision hitting the web. And we're going to take your questions later on in the show in Doom's Questions Corner. We got a couple from the email, and we've also... But please let us know in the chat once we get closer to that segment. Christian's going to keep an eye on that for you guys as we go.
Yeah, and also tell us when you're seeing the movie and how many times you expect to see it over the course of the weekend.
Yeah,
we're interested in all that stuff.
Yeah, we want to have a conversation with you guys, spoiler free, about what you're excited about to see in Endgame, and then Christian and I are basically just like have to be like, okay, I'm not going to respond to that. Not going to respond to that. Not going to respond to that. Not going to respond. Okay, we'll talk about that. But let's. Well, I should tell people watching who they're talking to.
Of course,
today.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Who's yelling at you about no spoilers? I'm Zach Wilson. This is Xia Anderson.
I want the spoilers.
You say that. Oh, I'm Christian Bladt. But when I texted you, I'm afraid I can't give you spoilers. You're like, no, I don't want them. You changed your mind.
It's a, I can't help it. I want to know so badly, but I'm trying so hard not to.
For those that don't know, I told Zia I would text her one spoiler and that was it. And then I'm like, no, I can't ruin any part of the movie for you. And even you realize.
Kind of a spoiler. I know because I know I can't have spoilers, but I want them, but I can't have them.
Yeah, I sent her a photo that won't make sense until she's seen the movie. A photo of me that won't,
can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
It won't make any sense, but and I'll share that with you guys. So this is a good thing to let you guys know about. We are going to be breaking up our Endgame review, our spoiler-filled review, into two parts. So if you want to get the fully spoiler-filled review, we're actually going to be doing an earlier episode on Sunday, which is April 28th.
Correct.
At 7 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be back here in the studio. The three of us are going to give our initial reactions, just like spoiler filled, just like what we loved, if there's anything that we didn't love,
I've got a few questions.
And like what questions
pose.
are there, what the future of the MCU looks like post Endgame, everything about that. Where part one is going to be on Sunday, and then next Thursday we're going to do part two, getting deeper into it, looking at specific character arcs and how that's going. And we might have some old friends from the classics coming back in true Endgame fashion to join us, but I'm just going to tease you with that for now. So without pushing it any further, let's dive in. Christian, what did you think? No spoilers. No plot points. No quotes. No specific things. And what did you like? How did you? That's a very leading statement. Did you like Endgame?
Yeah, it was all right. No, of course, yes, it was amazing. And the one thing that I want to say is somebody said this in the chat last week, and I forget who it was, that they also don't want joke spoilers, because when you do joke spoilers, you start to kind of open a can of worms of like, oh, so wait, if that doesn't happen, does that mean this also doesn't happen? So we're not going to do anything like that as well. I just wanted to put that out there because that comes up.
And if you're in, I will say also, I know internationally it's started to come out. Australia has seen it. Some parts in Europe and Asia have started to see it. don't spoil it for the other people in
Yeah.
the chat. Please be nice,
we've
and
got
we
some-
will banhammer you. And I know what the spoilers are, so I will attack.
Yeah. We've got like a friend in the chat, Megan Townsend, has seen it already, but she's like, yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything. It's just more she wishes she could talk
Enough
about
spoiler
it.
talk.
Yeah. So I thought, look, I expected this to be a great movie, this culmination, and even with incredibly high expectations, they were so far exceeded by just how great the movie was. Just from beginning to end, so many different emotions. It's a Marvel movie. Plenty of times to laugh. There is just some really deep, heart-wrenching, just really painful stuff to watch. And I have mentioned to a few people, I cried 3 times. And when I told my wife that I cried at a movie with Zach 3 times, and I've never cried at any movie with her ever, she was so upset. But I'm seeing it again with her tomorrow morning. I'm like, I guarantee I'm going to cry again at least 2 of those times.
Nice.
So, and look, I typically don't cry in movies, and it's not like, oh, I'm obviously look how macho I am. But seriously, I just usually don't, and I just like, oh, I can't help this one. And when we talk about it next week, or when we talk about it on Sunday, I'll be like, oh yeah, I get it. But so just it was so great to see everyone. There's some people that you expected that maybe you would see that you definitely saw. There's just so many surprises, and like genuine surprises, because they did such a great job of not having the spoilers out there. Plenty of people have known little things that have happened, and I don't know. For me, I don't know about you, Zach. Nothing had been spoiled for this movie except for like images that I saw in the trailers. But I don't feel like that really gave away much of anything. And I think it did stick to the early part of the film, the trailers. By the way, I think it was
by and large.
Yeah.
There's a couple of shots that are not from that first act, the way that they initially had said, but like nothing plot wise is at all told. Like the way that like certain, like we sort of know what the 3-act structure of Spider-Man Far From Home is going to be based on the one trailer we've seen.
Right.
But
true.
like none of that is true. Like maybe you've seen an image, but there's no context, and like
Right.
you won't even have context. Even if you remember that image in the movie, you won't know what it means until you get there. It's misleading enough that it's constantly questioning what you think you're going to see. So my thoughts on the film, the best way that I can describe Endgame without spoilers is, and I posted something similar I posted on Twitter after I saw it. Imagine you've been watching a TV show for like 10 or 11 years, and like you've loved it. You've rewatched every season constantly. Every time there's a new one coming out, the new season's coming, you're getting caught up, and you've lived in that show for like, think about like Smallville lasted for 10 years, like Buffy lasted for 6. Like
Supernatural's about to end after 15 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
imagine you've lived with those characters as part of you for that much of your life. And then the series finale, it like manages to perfectly pay homage to every single one of those episodes, like especially all of your favorites. They managed to like make the references and like bring characters to like a new place, but it also tells a story that's new, something you haven't seen before, but still absolutely respects and it truly, like, this is what Endgame did better than anything. It respected its fans, like the fans of the Marvel universe. It said, you guys love this stuff. We know you love this stuff. We love this stuff. Here's a love letter to the last 10 years of movies that you've enjoyed. That's what Endgame is. But it's like, the thing is, I've seen series finales like that where, yeah, they like referenced all these old episodes, and they had characters saying lines that we've heard them say before, that we've all quoted to death, and it feels sort of like truncated and like forced together as a fan letter. This didn't feel that way. Every time they made reference to an old movie, however they were doing it, it felt justified in the story and in the character. It was always motivated, and that's something that's so hard to do, well, especially while also keeping it emotional. And like Christian said, he cried 3 times. I got, because like, again, not being macho, I cry in movies occasionally, more so as I've become an older
Usually
older
Fast and
person.
Furious movies.
I've actually never seen a single Fast and Furious movie. Long story. But like I got teary-eyed during Winnie the Pooh or Christopher Robin, the recent one. Like, it's stuff, it can get to me. But this, I got teary-eyed No one will be surprised. My first tear was shed during an Ant-Man moment. But like that's the most I'll say is just like, I got tears, like a bunch, and like it wasn't like I can't even quantify it as like a specific amount of times because it was like okay, I'm okay. Oh no, it's coming back.
The first two for me, I could kind of hold in. There were tears running down my face. That third one, it was like, oh no, I'm gonna be making all the noises and and all that. And look, when everybody's seen the movie, whatever it is that happens at some point in the third act, I challenge people to not even get close. Maybe you're somebody that just never cries, but I would be surprised if people weren't. And your point about it being like a series finale, I thought was a perfect way to summarize it because you sort of encapsulated what I was trying to, how I was trying to think of it. And there's a TV series that they mention at some point in the movie that it's actually very much reminded me of the finale of it, which I can talk about on Sunday. But they just do such a great job of that because look, you've never had 22-part movie story before, and I know that it's not like every single part, but it's like it's all interwoven, and I don't know that we'll ever see anything like this again, anything that sums up a movie like this.
That's the thing that is so interesting to me about this is that like people will try to compare it and say like, oh, it's the best superhero movie of all time. It's the best. Hold on, let me start over. People try to say that this is the best superhero movie of all time, or they'll try to compare it to other movies in the Marvel franchise or other movie studios' attempts to make big superheroes. But there's nothing like this that's ever been done. It's just not even that, like, I'm saying, like, no movie has ever been this good. Like, it's not the best movie of all time, but it accomplishes things that you've never seen in the cinema before. I compare it to a TV series finale because that's the closest I can really get to describing it. Because not every character that you see in the movie has a full arc. It's impossible. There's like 80,000 characters running around in this. Or even if it wasn't 80,000, just 80, which is actually not overshooting it at this point. But the third act of the movie, I want to watch on a loop. I've just been playing it over and over in my head, like thinking about all these like moments. My face hurt from grinning through the third act. I will say that if I had any criticisms of it, it's towards the back of the second act. It gets a little slow. Yeah. It starts to slow down, like just enough where I'm like, oh man, I hope that this is like gonna pick up soon. Yeah. But as soon as I thought that, the third act kicked in, and then it was just like Grin City, where I've never seen a more comic book series of shots on the screen. And we've sat through the splash page that was the Civil War airport sequence when they're going at each other. The splash pages that would have existed if this was the comic book would be the most epic things you've ever imagined. Like, so
this would have been like a 96-page comic book. And what you're saying about the third act is when I see it again tomorrow, I'm now actually trying to think about, can I just go into another theater after it ends and just watch the third act again for a third time? Because there's so much great stuff in the movie, but that's what I keep thinking about is just sort of the way it all comes together. And, that's the part that I feel like I need to really just live in a little bit longer. As much as I got out of the first 2 hours, that it's that third hour that's crazy.
Yeah.
This is killing me, you guys.
I should address one thing in the chat. People in the chat are asking, I can't believe you guys didn't take Xia as your +1. So there's two things about this. One, Xia did have to work, and we did only get 2 tickets. And the back and forth between us trying to figure out who was going to go and when was not easy. So if it stays like this for future movies, I'll have to sit out one. Zach will have to sit out another one.
Yeah, it looks sometimes like press screenings are pretty tightly controlled. And Endgame was a specifically an even tighter one because normally Marvel is confident enough in their movies that they're putting them out to press 3 weeks, 4 weeks ahead of time to get people interested, to get the buzz out there. But this movie was so clamped down, nobody had seen it before the premiere on Monday.
And this was Tuesday on the Disney property. They didn't even want to send a copy of the film anywhere off the property. They didn't trust it going anywhere,
So it was low tense, but don't worry, Zia, we'll get you in there.
I know, it's okay. Trust me, if I could have afforded wanted to take the day off of work, I would have fought a lot harder for it to the death, actually.
But you'll get to see New Mutants for sure, so don't worry about it.
I'm into it.
But so like we will it's hard to say anymore. Like those are our general, just like what we thought of it. Like I don't want to get into spoilers. I don't want to talk about like what characters did well. I don't want to talk about like who we got to see, who we didn't get to see. But if you're a Marvel fan at all, this movie will be satisfying for you in so many ways. And again, in case you missed the announcement at the top, on Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific, we'll be back in the studio with a special where we're going to come, like, special day and time. So we're going to come in to talk, the three of us, about Endgame with all the spoilers for part 1 of the review, part 2 being next Thursday.
And obviously, if you're on the East Coast, that is 10 o'clock and it is Sunday. If you subscribe to the show, it'll just show up and it'll be there for you Monday morning. Just the same way that it shows up on Thursdays. This won't be any different. Yeah.
But we do want to talk a little bit about like some of the things that we were going to give some stats. We already talked about our crying stats.
Yeah.
I counted 3 teary eyes. For me, it was 3 teary eyes and 1 extended rolling cry.
Yeah.
Christian had
it's 2 and then the 1 uncontrollable. So you had 1 more than I did.
I already know.
And I wonder if I'm going to cry more tomorrow because it's like before something happens. I'm like, oh no, not this. So
I already know I'm going to cry as soon as it starts. As soon as the movie starts, the tears are coming. I already know it because I already get like that with like stuff I
with like Hellboy.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I do love Hellboy. No, but like with things that I'm really attached to, like Harry Potter, still watching those movies, I get that lump rising in my throat just in the beginning of it, just because I love it so much. So it's not even going to take the sad parts. It's just going to happen because I'm so excited.
But some other things to get you guys ready for the movie, like there's some stuff that we can say. So like some people might consider these, like, if you're super sensitive, these might be considered like kind of spoilers, but we're being as careful as we can. Like we literally had discussions outside of here. All right, can we say this? No, that's too much. All right, let's say this. Okay, that works. So having seen it, here are our list of obviously a lot of you don't have time to do your rewatches now, but these movies, if you haven't rewatched these movies, like maybe it's been a few years since you've seen these are the movies that we think that you absolutely need to see if you haven't seen them for some reason, or if you just don't remember them at all. Like I know one person who, like, one of these, they were like, oh, I fell asleep, but like, do I need to go watch that?
What?
And like, but they've seen like all the movies, they just like, they missed half of this and they're like, I never got back to it. And there's like, no, yes, you need to go. Like, you'll miss things because. So here's the list in just in a vague order, no like specific order, like just throwing them all out there. Infinity War, duh.
Yep.
You should see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Mm-hmm. You should see Captain America: The First Avenger. Mm-hmm. Captain America: Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. The Avengers, the original one.
The OG 2011 Avengers, yes.
You should see Thor: The Dark World, and you should see Thor: Ragnarok. Those are the ones that were like, you're gonna miss stuff. You're gonna it's jokes. You're not gonna they're gonna go way over your head, or plot points that are gonna be important. All of those films, from like Captain America: The First Avenger, The Avengers, The Ragnarok, Guardians, all of those, like those are the ones that we think are important.
Yeah, I was gonna say I definitely agree with all of those, and I'm also I don't have like a nagging like, oh, what about this one and that one? Those are the ones that if you somehow had the time, maybe before your second viewing of Endgame, these are the ones you should watch.
You'll know. But like, let's say you're not seeing it till Sunday. We wanted to give you like oh, my friends can't go until Sunday. What am I gonna do? These are the ones that you can watch. So again, Captain America: The First Avenger, Captain America: Winter Soldier, The Avengers, Thor: The Dark World, Thor: Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, and Infinity War are the absolute, like, you should not see it without having seen these. All right, let's move on, because I don't want to get into the why, because like that's dangerous territory. Let's get into
no whys.
Bathroom recommendations, because that's the other thing. Like, the movie is 182 minutes long. It's a lot of time. 3 hours and 2 minutes. So
what I'll say
Christian
first,
took some notes.
I did.
So on like 3 times with no plot points, we're just going to give you minutes.
Because look, there's a lot of links going around that are here's the times to go to the bathroom. But then it says, when you see this character talking to this character, I'm like, wait, that's a fairly significant spoiler.
Yeah.
I can't believe that it says that.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard because like, how else are you gonna? Like I will say, don't turn your phone on during the movie.
No.
But if you set a vibrate alarm up for like this many minutes, then like you can make a decision at that point.
Here are the times based on from the second the movie starts. All right, don't factor in the trailers you saw. As soon as the movie starts, there are 3 times. I don't think you should go to the bathroom at any time during this movie. I'm so glad I didn't. Just take a break from popcorn and soda just once. All right, just go to the.
I had 4 ounces of coffee.
Yeah.
And a protein bar as all I ingested before I saw this movie.
And then we still like both had to really go afterwards. I had like the smallest bottle of water. But anyway, so the times that I think are okay to go are, and we can expand on this on Sunday, what these times were, 60 minutes, 88 minutes, and 110 minutes. If you get to what you are confident is the 2-hour mark, you cannot go. You just can't. I'm sorry. You're going to have to wet yourself.
But you also won't want to at that point.
Yeah. You won't. But like if you get to that like 1 hour and 50-minute mark, and you're like, I don't know, I might have to go, Xia. You just go and just take care of yourself. All right.
So
we don't want anybody to hurt themselves.
I disagree with 2 of these, but like I'm also only going to endorse one.
Yeah.
And these are like, again, these are all great moments, especially for MCU fans. So it would hurt to miss any of them.
Right. And what I'd say is the second time you go, if you have to go, you just go at a different time.
Yeah.
This is all assuming you're going more than once. This is for that first time. These are things that you can step out during, but you are going to definitely miss something.
You will be able to follow the larger storyline is basically the thing. And like the larger storyline will be intact and you won't be like super confused. I will endorse the third one at the 110-minute mark as the best of the worst options. Like in a bad situation where you're like, my bladder is going to explode. I need to pick one. The 110-minute mark is my endorsement.
Now here's a question. How long do you have to go to the bathroom?
Well, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier for men, obviously, because we can run in and run out and be back.
You know
under a
what?
minute.
So can women. I don't understand why women take so long to pee. You sit down, you go, you get out.
Yeah, but we don't have to sit down, so it's really that quick.
That scene and like interaction is maybe 2 minutes.
You have maybe 2 minutes.
I mean, look, and like scenes don't last longer than 2 minutes in films like this. Like there's a lot going on, so. You no matter what, you got to be fast.
Yes. You got to run to the bathroom.
But
and maybe consider choosing a theater based on an actual screen in the theater based on how close is the bathroom.
So Christian, you were the one that saw this in the news. I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I saw. I should have sent the screen grabs. People tweeted out. You're talking about in 2 different countries, the way the film's being shown, right? So this could be happening in a lot of places. What I know for sure, in Italy and Israel, they're showing it with an intermission. Now, I obviously am not going to allude to when the intermission might be. I don't actually know at what minute mark, but that's a great idea. I've occasionally seen a movie with an intermission. It doesn't take you out of the movie. It doesn't hurt. It makes everybody just a little bit happier to sit there in their seats. And I think that's cool. So some of our international viewers, you might actually get an intermission. So if you're watching somewhere overseas, maybe ask the theater ahead of time, and then you won't have to worry about my little tips about when to go.
I went and saw 2001: A Space Odyssey on IMAX recently, like last year, and the intermission was still in the film reels.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, what do we everyone in the theater was a little bit like we all remembered that was part of the movie, but like we all sort of like,
what do we do?
Okay. They didn't even bring the lights up. It was very confusing for everyone. So this is a fair question for parents. The film is rated PG-13.
Yes.
Marvel movies, nothing so far, although they've talked about the potential of R-rated movies down the road and admitted that they will be open to it if the right story comes along. But this film is rated PG-13. Do you think it is, Christian? You're the only parent in the room. Right. What age do you think is appropriate to bring your child to?
PG-13. I think it's really going to depend on your kid. It's a little bit loose. I feel like by the time I was 8 and 9, PG-13 was fine. I think kids see a lot of things on television and video games and anywhere that I didn't used to see at that time. So if you know your kid and you feel like, you know what, I'd be okay watching a Netflix or HBO show with them that might have a little bit of violence in it. I think it's okay.
I wouldn't even say it's not even that bad.
Right, there's a couple of but somewhere in the movie, in the first reel in the old days, it would be, there's just something that's a little bit gruesome, and you're just like, okay, so just to keep that in mind.
Yes, but not like let me put it this way.
It's not
I
gory.
have seen moments on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that were more graphic than anything
fair.
I saw in this movie.
Yeah, that's fair. I think a safe bet is like 10. A 10-year-old can see this, especially if they've seen all of them. But I don't know how often we have to say, don't bring your 9-year-old to Deadpool or Venom. Just be smart. This one, it's okay. You can just
Unless
sort of be
you're going
ready.
to see Once Upon a Deadpool.
Right. That's why it's there.
So as far as like how this is being received so far,
Yeah.
Endgame is killing it as deserves. It is currently sitting. I'm going to see if it's updated because it updates constantly as new reviews roll in. Currently, Avengers Endgame is sitting at a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I want to know who that 4% is so I can go fight them. No, I'm just kidding. You're entitled to your opinion.
So reviews are rolling in. Reviews are overwhelmingly positive. As I said, it's impossible to compare this movie to anything else.
Even people that have problems with elements of it, I've seen non-spoilery tweets from people I follow that are just like, there are things that they feel like it might have dragged at points. There were parts of it that they didn't love, but ultimately, even those reviews are still largely positive.
Yeah, there's moments where I thought that it dragged a little bit, and there were a couple character interactions that I was a little bit like, I don't know if that fits really with those characters, but they're very minor moments. And they did not take away from my overall enjoyment of the film in the slightest. Like, it's more of like I felt there were a couple. There's one that I'll talk about on Sunday. There's one character interaction that I feel like they cut something or they had a bigger story in their head than what they gave us on screen. And like, while I didn't dislike where they went with it, it just surprised me. There's just so many comic moments that made me like just have like nerdgasms in the biggest way. It's the only way I can describe it.
I can't wait.
There's one moment in particular that I was just like, my nerd is hard.
Let me throw this in from Xeno Hour in the chat. It's sort of summarizing a great approach, and I don't think Xeno Hour's seen it. Hydrate yourself the day before. Go to the bathroom during the trailers. Absolutely. Drink moderately or small sips. I'm just saying, one of those tiny bottles of water. Just drink a little bit.
Just to wet your
just a few
beak.
sips. But again, don't go to the snack counter beforehand. It's going to make your life so much easier. And look, I love to get the bucket of popcorn and the gallon of soda. That's right where I am.
We've already talked enough about pee today.
Well, but it's there's still, and there is one thing on the rundown that you skipped, which keeps coming up in the chat, which is the end.
Okay, I was gonna save that.
Okay.
But I guess before we talk about like sales and all that, we can talk about this. So as far as end credits go, I know that there's some conspiracy theories out there on the internet, and like people are like, what's so specifically in the screenings that we saw, because some people are like, are they just holding it back from the press?
I do think it's possible.
Which is possible, but in the screening that we saw, and so far everybody has seen, and remember, it's out internationally, so it's out there, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
There is no end credit scene. There is a thing, but it's not anything. It's not
a scene.
It's not a scene. It's not a character. It's not like there's no words. Like, there's not a post-credit scene. Like, it's shocking, but I know for
That's
a Marvel
so
movie,
weird.
it's the first time ever a Marvel movie has not had a post-credit scene.
And there was audible disappointment in the screening we were in.
Yeah.
It was like, aw. It was just like, oh, come on.
It wasn't just disappointing, it was surprise.
Yeah. I was surprised.
I was surprised. And like what they do, I won't tell you what they did, but like it makes sense. I get it.
Yeah.
It was surprising, but it also, I think, it says something really big about like the finality of, and like the MCU is continuing. They're going to be doing a lot of stuff, but like this was the close of a story. This was a story started with Iron Man, and it like, or if you want to go to like, if you're doing a timeline thing, a story started with Captain America, the First Avenger, and it ended here. Not that the characters, not that all the characters' stories are done, but this story ended. You know what this feels like? Actually, this feels like a John Hickman Avengers story. This makes me feel like I hadn't thought about that. This feels like a Jonathan Hickman Avengers story where it started in one place and they did a story and you didn't realize how much they were he was threading a grandiose like if you go back to when they relaunched when they did Avengers #1 with Jonathan Hickman a couple years ago, and it was a whole thing about like planets and you like colliding and all this stuff. You didn't realize at the time that it was going to lead to the massive Secret Wars crossover summer event where every book got closed off for a couple months to do Secret Wars, the modern one. But when you go back and look at those stories, of course it was all there the whole time. That's what this feels like to me. This was the Secret Wars. This was the end of like the Hickman Secret Wars summer event, like coming to a close and feeling like, wow, I feel rewarded for having read this book for years and not like realizing how much they were all intertwined. That's what this felt like.
Xia, is this worse for you to sit here not having seen it and than if you were just sitting at home having not seen it and waiting until you go? Because we're just talking so much about it without talking about it.
Torturing our friend. I'm so sorry, Xia.
This is my point of being in this industry, and for some like reason missing the. And look, I'm doing this for good reason, like not to get too crazy off track, but I'm seeing it on Saturday because that's when my husband can see it. And our whole relationship has been these movies. Like, it's part of the reason why we're married. So I'm not going to go see it without him. I'm not going to go see it before him. So, like, and I'm fine with that. But, oh, my God, it's so hard.
I'm so sorry, Xia. I'm so sorry. All right.
It's okay.
So like, sit through the credits. Like, the people that worked on this worked super hard, if only to respect them. But... yes, there
are some nice acknowledgments to some of the many men and women of the Marvel comic book industry who have contributed to stories that you see represented here. Some get very nice, not cameos, but some get very nice credits, and then there's just a whole block of like, oh yeah, look at all those people who contributed to this in some way or another.
Yeah. Sales are insane for this movie. By all means looking like it's going to break all kinds of records. Apparently there's already 1 million tickets, not $1 million, 1 million tickets have been sold in India. The overnights from China say 107 million in day one. The trackers, the people who are in charge of...
There's somebody you need to block in the chat. Sorry, Zach.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I could do it, and that was what I tried to do.
No, my fine.
Sorry.
Hold on. So, you threw me off my groove
I know, but we had somebody that said something, and everybody's upset, and I just didn't even see that person in there before.
Banhammered. Done with.
Okay,
Dealt with.
good. Thank you.
So
you're talking about all the different
the sales.
Yes.
The sales are going off the chart. The sales are going off the charts. As I said, 1 million tickets sold in India already. $107 million in China in day one.
Day one, by the way.
It is going to be playing on a record amount of screens in the U.S. and Canada. I don't even know what the worldwide numbers are on the number of screens, but 4,600 different screens are showing Endgame this weekend. The estimates from analysts who know this stuff are saying that they expect that the worldwide box office by the end of the weekend will be $940 million. And there's an outside shot that it could be the first movie, and that would break records anyway.
Yeah.
But it could be the first movie in its opening weekend to break $1 billion worldwide.
This is such a great time to be a nerd. Go on.
And good luck in finding the next movie that will gross that much. I mean, it's to the extent that there's so many different angles to cover the story. I mean, on my day job, we have one of the business news channels on, and they were talking about it kind of at length, just about how much money this is going to make. And it's a story on that level, too, which is kind of great to see.
Yeah.
I know that there are going to be some theaters that are open 24 hours showing the movie, and then there's
Yes.
going to be some that are showing only Avengers Infinity War. I mean, Infinity War, what am I talking about?
Endgame.
Endgame. That are going to be only showing Avengers Endgame, which, I mean, has that ever happened before?
I mean, maybe it depends on like the size of the theater. You know, like some of the older, smaller theaters that only have 4 screens. That's probably happened for a Star Wars or a Marvel movie or something. But yeah, when you go to like one of the big multiplex, like 16 screen theaters, like one we have not far from here, I assume there's going to be a couple screens showing other movies this weekend.
Just a
but
couple.
I think the majority of what's going to be running is going to be Endgame there.
Yeah, it's gonna. So a couple AMC's are reportedly gonna be open for 96 hours straight.
Yeah.
Because of the marathon screenings and stuff they're doing up until Endgame, and then they'll be like a lot of theaters will be in larger cities will be open literally all night from starting they're already open today. They'll be starting screenings for Endgame around 7 o'clock. I think are the earliest ones.
Yeah.
And then just they'll have midnight screenings. They'll have 3 a.m. screenings, 6 a.m. screenings, 8 a.m. screenings. I'm going to an 8:30 a.m. tomorrow at the AMC near me.
That's amazing.
And then I'm seeing it again on Saturday afternoon, evening, because it's long enough that it spans both. But yeah, so it's playing all over the place. There's some fun stories that came out from people like Mark Ruffalo talking about the fact that he got a fake script because they've talked about now that everyone's seen the movie, but like a lot of the actors didn't know what was happening in the movie until they saw it.
I've read a few different articles. Apparently, Mark Ruffalo's really bad with secrets, as we all know, because we saw last year. But also, Tom Holland is terrible.
Yeah.
So all he got, I think, were his lines. He didn't even get scenes that he was in. It's like, here are your lines, Tom. Go ahead. So yeah, they didn't want him to know anything, basically.
Yeah, and like Ruffalo slipped
amazing.
on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like there was that. I hadn't even seen this until recently, but
Yeah.
he did an interview where it was him and Don Cheadle sitting down, and this before Infinity War had come out, and he just goes, and they're joking about like character deaths and all of that, and it's like, well, I mean everybody's gonna die.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
he almost
almost
let
said-
the word half come partway out of his mouth,
Mark.
and then John Cheadle did not play it off well enough because he went, dude.
That's amazing.
He's just sitting there like, I can't believe what you just did.
Yeah.
But like, it was the kind of thing where nobody really connected those dots at the time. It was like, so that's the thing. It was
you get it after
because
seeing
even
the
if
movie.
even
but-
if he had, even if you had seen him say like half of everybody's gonna die, like half of us don't come back.
Yeah.
Like nobody would have known what that meant.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Well, maybe until you start the movie and then this is talking about like 50% of all life, and you're like, oh no, Ruffalo, what did you do?
Ruffalo?
But yeah, so they gave him some fake scenes that he didn't even know what was happening, which a lot of people do. I
that's
mean,
great.
you could track that back to like The Simpsons when they produced 2 endings for Who Shot Mr. Burns.
yeah.
That was like the big one that I remember of the people doing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of shows have definitely done that. Where,
Yeah.
you know, they produce fake stuff. So
But so yeah, so what are people saying about when they're gonna see Endgame?
we have a lot of people. Somebody said that. So let's see. On the East Coast, it's almost 5 o'clock. So you have people that are going to be, they're going to be at the theater in line in about an hour because there are those 6 o'clock showings. And I don't know of any earlier than that. I think 6 o'clock is here. It's funny because those used to be the midnight showings, and they were the 9 p.m. showings, and they were 8, 7, 6. I think they'll be noon by this time next year. But so and then for a lot of reasons, like sort of Xia has a specific reason that's when she can go with her husband. There's people who aren't going to see it until Sunday, which look, life gets in the way of movies. So. I think all you can do is like just actually sign out of Twitter
Yeah.
and sign out of Facebook. Just,
Don't go on social
whatever
media.
you usually do to pass your time on social media, just do something different.
Yeah.
Listen to
You can
music, read a book.
Look, you can mute words on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll help you a little bit. You can just mute the word Endgame, mute the word Iron Man, mute the word Captain America, Spider-Man, Thanos, Black Widow, Hawkeye. Like literally,
Rocket, everyone.
just like literally just go through the list and like mute all of the characters that you don't want to know about.
Martin Sondrager points out it's even harder in schools to avoid spoilers because you're talking about younger age kids. Look, when we went to the press screening, there were kids there, school age kids, like middle school age kids.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so they walked into school either later that day or the next day knowing everything. And then it's like, well, who doesn't want to do that? I was telling Zach after we saw the movie, I remember when I was in third grade, I saw Return of the Jedi just when it opened before anybody else. And all I could talk about is like, oh, so yeah, so Princess Leia's his sister. No, Darth Vader really is his dad. And it's like you didn't think about it. You were just like so excited to share it with somebody. By the way, spoiler for anybody who didn't see Return of the Jedi. My bad. I that was on me. I shouldn't have just blurted that out. But so it just reminded me of that when I saw that in the chat.
So our final thoughts on Endgame, because there are some other stories I want to talk about while we're here. Final thoughts on Endgame. It was a fantastic movie. I can't wait to see it again. I've been like thinking about it. It's a 3-hour movie, and I'm so excited that I already have two more screenings planned
tomorrow morning.
I think it is a perfect finale to the Marvel to Fate, like to what is like so one of the things Kevin Feige talked about, technically this is not the end of phase 3. He's like much the way that Ant-Man was technically the end of phase 2. Spider-Man Far From Home will be the official end of phase 3. But like this is the finale. That's like, so Spider-Man Far From Home is sort of like the epilogue.
Yeah.
The Christmas special episode that they put out after the season.
Exactly.
That's the end credit scene. Is all of Spider-Man Far From Home.
That's so true. Oh man. And and even knowing like that, it was an interesting like having in the back of my head that like Far From Home's coming out. That it made me question things in the movie, not in a bad way. I thought it actually made me guess more.
One final thing from the chat: Hershey Russell Osiris says, "I've seen it 4 times already. I'm emotionally. I don't even know how you did that. You must be somewhere overseas. But I'm so jealous that you've seen it 4 times.
Yeah.
That you've spent those 12 hours watching this movie, and I've only spent 3.
That's crazy.
My hat's off to you.
What are you doing? Or maybe they work in a theater.
That's true. That would make sense.
But so I enjoy it. Go see it. Try to be as spoiler free as you can. Like I think we've done it. I hope we did a good job for you guys of keeping talking about it while not revealing anything.
I mean, you really just made it more exciting.
And yeah, please join us on Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, and then you check your local listings for what time that is for you.
Yes.
And join us for a part 1 of our 2-part Avengers Endgame spoiler-filled review.
And then I'll get to talk about it as much as I want.
All right, so I am going to move into the other news that we have. And then,
believe it or not, there is other news.
There is other news. There's just some small stuff, to be honest. It's not very big. Everyone's just thinking about Endgame right now. But if you have questions for Doom's Question Corner, hold on, because we will get to them at the very back of the show. For movie stuff, Kevin Feige did some teasing for Shang-Chi. Sorry, I'm switching the order a little bit to my co-host and our engineer. Thank you, JL. Kevin Feige teased Shang-Chi in one of the interviews. He's like, he wasn't going to talk about anything future of the movie, but he was like, that's not about this movie. But a fan asked him about it. And he confirmed that it is being developed. Not that it's going to be made, because there's a key difference between developing something, a property, and like actually putting it into production. But I liked his quote here, because he said, this is a quote, "I think every movie that we do is a risk. We only want to do movies that people seem to think are risks. Doing the story of an Asian American hero of Chinese heritage is something that is very intriguing to us. It will be really different and special." He was asked specifically if he thought Shang-Chi was a risky project. He goes on to say, "I hope audiences around the world would respond to it in the same way they did to Steve Rogers. Whether they have an American flag or not, it's about the individual storyline, spectacle, and adventure that come with Marvel Studios movies." So like Shang-Chi definitely on their development slate, whether we're going to see it whether it's going into production, whether we're going to see it anytime soon, who knows? But so if you're excited about seeing Shang-Chi, they are absolutely keeping it in mind and absolutely like considering that project.
I am excited. I think I mean, look, if you can take, and I'm not going to pretend I've seen every Jackie Chan movie because I've seen a lot of them, but there are so many. If you can take that and combine it with a Marvel movie, holy crap.
Yeah, it was what we always...
That's going to be amazing.
It was what we thought Iron Fist, the show, was going to be able to do, and it didn't really give that to us. It didn't give us that kung fu movie in the Marvel universe that we wanted it to, but that's what the opportunity you have now with Shang-Chi is. So we'll see more on that. Like, we've already talked about the potential of the movie in the past.
When they start casting.
This is more of just a fun merchandising news.
Oh, yeah.
If you're familiar with the company Mondo, Mondo Tees, MondoTees.com. I know that they're not sponsoring this by any means, but I love their stuff. I own so many posters from them and so many records. They're the company that put out the Netflix movie scores on vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
Which are gorgeous, and I have like up in my I have like record holsters so that I can display these because they look better than posters. But they just announced that they are going to be releasing on vinyl every single Marvel movie score that they've made, and it's gonna start. And this is how they got me real fast, guys. They're gonna start by putting out the soundtrack, the score for Ant-Man and the Wasp. And look at these here. I just want to show, like, this is the front cover of the record. It's gorgeous art.
That
like,
looks
that's the thing
great.
Mondo is known for. They make beautiful artwork. That's why their posters are so good. They're all officially licensed. And then we show like the inside jacket, which is the next photo.
Oh, nice.
That looks, it's got ghosts showing off in there. And the so they put out 1,000. I was fast enough that I got the like limited edition version, which has like the multicolored vinyl. But you can go and get one where one is red and one is just yellow. It just doesn't have that gray streak.
That's so cool.
Super cool stuff. I was like, yes, I will buy this. I don't have money for this, but are you here? Here's my credit card number. No one is surprised that I was rushing to buy this. But they're going to be putting out every single score.
That's amazing.
So, like, I mean, look, the people, you could argue that, like, do Marvel movies have the best scores ever, or the most memorable scores? Not necessarily. To me,
Some more than others.
Some more than others. To
Yeah.
me, the best ones are the original Avengers score. Like, Alan Silvestri, like, has an amazing job across all the Avengers movies that he worked on. But that original one, I've listened to a whole bunch. Giacchino's Spider-Man score is another one that I think is really fantastic. And the Doctor Strange score is super weird and like it's unique. It's not like any other score. That's why I really like that one.
I think this is going to be really fun for putting on these scores and like epically doing things around your apartment, like cleaning. But like you clean and you like go and do a roll into your kitchen and grab the paper towels. Like that's what these are.
And you can listen to them everywhere anyway. But but like. I still like buying a physical thing because I'm an old man, and I buy and spending my money on digital products still weirds me out. And I'm like, so I'll listen to it digitally, but I like buying something physical, like a record, and like because look, I don't even have things that use CDs anymore. They're useless. They're literally useless.
Yeah.
But a vinyl record, like I can put on. I have a record player. I can't tell the difference. I'm not an audiophile. Like it's not better. It's worse if anything. But these are really beautiful.
Right. The best combination is physical things that come with a digital component.
Exactly.
Like when you get the Blu-ray that comes with it. And I am actually a big proponent of CDs. This laptop in front of me has a CD drive. My car has them because when you get it, it's already also digital, so you can put it into your iTunes. So it's
and you get the jacket, and you can
well,
look at
that's
the
thing,
pictures.
So
and read
I'd
through
rather
the
look at a
slide.
small
That's the
CD
fun,
booklet
that's
than a
fun.
giant vinyl. But these things look so cool. That,
Also, guys, hold on. Why am I a hipster?
Yeah.
I'm wearing a hoodie vest, and I've got a knit cap. That are separate things. Like this is the hoodie from my Doom cosplay that I just like had with me today, and like this is just a cap that I really like and I think looks good on me. But then I'm talking about vinyl records.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Well, after the show, Zach will be at a coffee shop down the street. He'll be reciting some slam poetry, so you can find him there.
You're not.
But 100% wrong.
Super far off. Like I did spend a lot of time at a coffee shop yesterday writing a screenplay. What?
That just means you live in LA.
Two coffee shops.
Oh, okay. Well, that's next level.
Let's go in for one quick story in Marvel TV time.
Oh,
Marvel movie news. We're talking TV time.
All right. So this a little bit of news on WandaVision.
Yeah.
And like I will say, with that, this is not spoiler stuff, but we do, thanks to like after the movie, and we'll talk about this on Sunday, we do have a little bit more clarity on what both like not in any news way, but like I now have a much better idea about when in the timeline we're gonna like WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier are likely to land.
Yes.
There are like there's definitely some stuff that like they've held back. There's a reason we don't have details on those shows, and like character arcs and stuff in the movie like definitely told me like, oh, okay, that one will probably be here, that one will probably be here, that's probably going to end up being like this, that's going to end up being like this.
And some of the characters that have been rumored to have Disney Plus shows that have still been unconfirmed, you still start to think like, oh, well, this could be that person in this timeline or over here or there. So yeah, it creates a lot more questions.
Yeah,
actually.
but we have a little bit of more news on WandaVision specifically because Liz Olsen was talking about it in the press line. Where she's saying she's super excited to dive into with Paul Bettany. They're going to start shooting in the fall. They have a room together and they're working on it. She teased that it's going to have a 1950s vibe.
Yeah, which I think is very cool.
And she said that it was going to be heavily influenced by Vision and the Scarlet Witch, the comic run Vision and the Scarlet Witch. The 50s vibe, again, just makes me think of the Vision series from a couple years ago. Even more so, because that was a super 50s nuclear family style show, or comic. She's saying that it's looking like 6 episodes. Does this get you guys more hyped?
Yes, and it better be 6-hour-long episodes. That's all I'm saying.
None of these 38-minute deals or whatever.
Even 42. No.
It's not enough. You need an hour.
I agree
with you. I think that I don't know. It's interesting to see sort of, what will happen with those shows. And, they're still really not talking about much, of the future. I mean, even this Shang-Chi thing is like, well, hold on that. All we've heard about it, Eternals, none of it's really confirmed. So I think that's another thing to look forward to in the wake of the movie finally being out there, is now they'll be a little bit more comfortable like talking about what some of these, like what Marvel movies would be in theater next year at any time, for sure,
Yeah,
so
we still don't know what movies are next on the slate. After we know it's being produced, we know it's in development, but
we don't know what the next one to actually come into theaters after Far From Home is.
And it's going to be so interesting. Because like you were talking about before, how they started out with, Captain America and getting us to really care about these characters. What set of characters are we going to care about next? And how are they going to make us care about them and get so invested? Because how invested everybody's, just sales alone show how invested people are in Endgame. The end of this, 22 long movie, if you really want to get into it, or 21, event. So I'm really excited and curious to see what they do next with that, because I want to know who these characters are. Yeah. Why do I love them? I'm going to.
Yeah.
I know it.
So with that, I want to move into Doom's Question Corner, because I like to talk to you guys about like what you're thinking about the Marvel universe at large and everything going on there. So if you're in the chat, please keep the spoilers out of the discussion. But let's talk to you guys about what you want to hear about. So I got a question. This one's from an email from Jack Slavic. Thank you, Jack. And this is not about Endgame, but about a potential Wolverine movie in the future, because we are going to have to relaunch the X-Men at some point back however they're going to fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whether you port over the existing like versions of them from Dark Phoenix in like a universe smashing way, which like there's definitely comic book justification for that, or you just completely start from scratch. They're gonna do it eventually. And Wolverine obviously being the big one, and maybe you don't want to go into him at first, but he is the most popular like currently in terms of like broader audiences. Jack asks, what if Wolverine the Long Night was the first Wolverine movie, specifically in the MCU? Wolverine the Long Night is the podcast story that they told over a series of like 10 episodes, audio. And I actually like that's a really cool idea. Because that story it doesn't focus on Wolverine. It does get it, you do
Yeah.
like pick up with his character, but you sort of start with another character's perspective, and he's sort of treated like this force of nature that's out there.
Think about it almost like how a Godzilla movie isn't so much about what Godzilla is doing. It's just, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm not quite sure what it is. And then eventually you see him.
And
you
it
know?
becomes about
Yeah.
the people around the character as opposed to the character itself. Not that Wolverine has arc and growth in that story as well. That's why I really like that audio story, that audio drama. But I hesitate to call it a podcast because really it's an audio drama that just got released in 10 pieces.
Right.
But I think that would be a really cool idea personally. Like it's a good story. It's got cults in it, and there's some fights and there's explosions. It's in the Alaskan wilderness, so it's a unique setting that we've never really seen before.
So do you think this would be done in movie form, or they would have to do this in a series?
No, that's a movie.
Yeah,
Like,
You could do-
definitely-
okay.
would adapt it
that-
as a
it would
movie,
definitely
for
be.
sure.
It could definitely be a movie.
And I think that that's a great way to bring some of the, Wolverine in particular, but all of the X-Men characters. I think start with kind of a standalone Wolverine movie where he doesn't know the X-Men. It's from that period in his time
if you've got to do Wolverine,
Yeah.
I personally think the MCU should start with the other mutants.
Sure.
I would rather start whether you play with the original who the team is. I want to start with the basic setup of the original X-Men.
Yeah.
Of Professor Xavier, like pulling mutants into a school to teach them and like how to use their powers effectively. That's like what I want to see. It doesn't have to be the original lineup. Like,
No.
but like
I'd be okay if it was, though.
There's a dynamic there that I like too. So yeah, we'll see it.
Megan Townsend says, I think they should focus more on making the Fantastic Four better than it was originally. I think you mean better than any of the previous movies. Yeah, I personally, if I'm going to focus on one of those properties, I would focus on the Fantastic Four first.
Yes, I agree.
I feel like people are very ready to turn the page on everything that's come before. We still have an X-Men movie that's going to come out in theaters. It's going to be, I think, a little while. I'm really ready for the Fantastic Four to be part of the MCU for sure.
Yeah. I agree. Like not just because I love Doom, but a lot because I love Doom. I would love to see some more stuff from. I would love to see some more stuff from Fantastic Four than like a good solid adaptation. We did get some help in the chat because like news is coming out even as we go, and it literally came out just now. Like while we're on the air, but like EW is or Entertainment Weekly is putting out some cool images of Spider-Man. We obviously can't show them to you this quickly, but like you see Mysterio and Pete.
Yes.
Shake hands. Thank you. I think that was Zeno Hour who threw that. Yeah, thank you Zeno Hour for helping.
Ooh, I
keep us-
like that.
Zeno Hour, who also just said
Ooh.
Oscar Isaac for Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, I like
I got no
that.
problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm
Good
on board.
Casting.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oscar
I would be
Isaac.
down. But he's busy being Spider-Man 2099. I know
Yeah.
that's in a different universe.
No, it's
but like,
true. But it's an
still.
animated universe. I think he'll be
Still.
all right.
All right.
Him, yeah.
All right, guys, we got to wrap it up here.
We do.
Thank you so much for joining us for our spoiler-free Endgame discussion. It did feel good
did.
to get to talk about it a little bit, even if we didn't get to talk about the specifics, but we'll do that on Sunday. So as we wrap out here, Xia, I'm so sorry. Thank you for putting. Thank you.
sitting through
Thank
this.
you for dealing with this.
Mostly, I'm just more excited now.
Know that we appreciate it. So if people want to keep up with you and commiserate with you for the few hours that they have left while they wait for Endgame, where can they do that?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, although I am staying off of Twitter mostly. I haven't
Smart.
been on it all, yeah. Xia_land, that's XIA_land. But yeah, you can commiserate, with me on my Instagram.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And yes, Sunday night we'll be doing a special version of this show at 7 p.m. But Z and I will also be doing the other show that we do on our sister network, AfterBuzz. We'll be doing Marvel TV Weekly. And there is some TV stuff to talk about, but we're probably going to also spill over and talk maybe a little bit about Endgame after that. But there's some good stuff to talk about.
I imagine you'll especially be talking about, depending on how you want to handle spoilers on that show, how Endgame is going to affect the TV universe.
That's exactly how we're going to talk about it.
Especially Disney Plus stuff.
And
it's
look,
going to be
there's a very
affected.
exciting episode of Cloak and Dagger on tonight. So I know there legitimately is a confrontation that looks like it'll be fun.
I'm like an episode or two behind.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
catching
something
up.
good.
I'm watching.
And I'll just say let me apologize to anybody in the chat who there were some punks that tried to spoil things. But what I will tell you, we caught them and got rid of them. Zach put down the hammer. Some of the things that they said do not actually happen in the movie. So if you read something in the chat, it might not necessarily ruin anything for you. I just wanted to say that. Okay, so there's the spoils might not have actually been accurate. So don't
there
let
were
it hang on you.
there were wrong things. There were mostly wrong things.
Mostly wrong things.
Okay, good.
yeah.
So great. So guys, I'm Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at that Zach Wilson. Be sure to check out my other podcast, Ships in the Night, where we get weird, talk about crossover ships, and write their fanfic stories. This week we did John Wick and Kill Bill's Bride.
Oh, beautiful.
Because it's super, and also
love that.
Luigi and Simon Belmont. Luigi hunts ghosts. Simon Belmont hunts vampires. It works better than you think. Trust me. All right, guys. That's called Ships in the Night. I'm Zach Wilson. This is Xia Anderson. That's Christian Bladt. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back soon for more Endgame discussion. Don't spoil the Endgame. This has been Marvel Movie News. Thanks for geeking out with us.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.